What's up, Dynasty fam? Today I'm going to give you 7 hacks leading into week 2 of our Dynasty leagues. Starting off with our honorable mentions, going to be add Malik Washington, only 63% rostered right now. If he is still out there on your waiver wire, I think he's a good little player to, even if you want to just star him for now, definitely someone to keep an eye out on. Waddle suffered a shoulder injury in the third quarter. He did return, but if it were to worsen throughout the course of the week and he misses some time, I think Miami they didn't look very good on offense, looked very poorly. They struggled to get things going. And we know Malik Washington is a playmaker right in college. He's had a good camp, had a good preseason. And today he earns 5 targets, turns 2 receptions into 20 yards, also received a rushing attempt, getting 9 yards there on the ground. So someone to definitely stash away or keep started on your players tab. Keep an eye on, see if something would happen with Waddle. I think he's someone that we could add later, could give us some value. At number 7, we have send some offers for Harold Fannin Jr. I think if you lost Kittle especially, I think this is someone that I'm definitely going to inquire about. Send some offers out. Played 55 snaps in his game 1 to Njoku's 64. He runs 32 routes to Njoku's 41. And in that, Fannin out-targets Njoku in his first game as a rookie. Really like Fannin a lot. We don't want to overreact to week 1 normally, right? But in this case, I'm already buying in on Fannin, right? There was already rumors before how they liked him in camp, and possibly, they'd be shopping Njoku later on during the season, who's going to be a free agent. And I think Fannon's just going to be in a great spot to be one of the lead targets there for Cleveland. And I think even with Njoku, I think he's definitely getting plenty of opportunity in that offense. Got 9 targets today. He turned that into 7 receptions for 66 yards, 13.6 fantasy points, and still only 21 years old. So I'm definitely trying to add or inquire about Fannin where I can. Definitely going to send some offers. At number 6, this is going to be my second option if you lost George Kittle. I think this is the next best thing you could do, and it's to add Juwan Johnson. Only 48% rostered, so he might still be there on your waiver wire. We know Taysom Hill suffered that ACL tear late in the season last year. Gonna miss a majority of 2025, probably. That's what I would suspect. And in the meantime, Johnson ran the most routes on the team, right? So ran 47 routes to Shaheed's 46. Olave ran 43. So he led the team in routes run. And then he gets 11 targets today, turns that into 8 receptions for 76 yards. So I know with Kittle gone, they have, I think it's Tong, but I prefer Johnson over him if you could right now. If you are the Kittle owner, I would submit a waiver claim for Johnson and then go for Tong later for a smaller amount in case you miss out on Johnson. At number 5, we have add Kenny Gainwell. So he was actually someone that we had mentioned in our 13 players to stash preseason. And just because we talked about the opportunity he could get early on in the season. So right now, Gainwell got some opportunity already week 1, which we suspected, right? As Caleb Johnson kind of had a slow start with camp, with injury and all that, and learning pass protections, different things like that. So right now, Kenny Gainwell earned 7 rush attempts, got 19 yards. Not that great, but he also did receive 4 targets. And if something were to happen to Jaylen Warren, we could see an increase in opportunity for Gainwell. And either way, even just as long as Caleb Johnson is out, Gainwell is going to be getting some decent opportunity in the meantime as Caleb Johnson gets worked up. Caleb Johnson also got a fumble. It was on special teams, but still got a fumble this week. I think Caleb Johnson only got 1 rushing attempt. I think he got negative 2 yards on it. So I think Gainwell is a good player to have on your rosters right now early on in the season. Now at number 4, I have inquire about Jaydon Blue. So I think right now is a good time to send an offer for Jaydon Blue. People were shocked, to start out the game. He was basically going to be inactive, a healthy scratch. But I think if you can add him as a throw-in or get him maybe you can get him for your 4th or send a 3rd and get Blue in a 4th back. He didn't suit out, and I think it possibly could have been also because he was injured. He did miss some time in camp due to an ankle injury. So he went down, though, as a healthy scratch, but I think he can get opportunity very soon. I think as soon as even next week. So Miles Sanders, he did respectable. He had 1 big play, but it's clear to see, honestly, watching it, that he's lost a step. He had, like I said, one big play where he had a lot of room to run through, and he got run down from behind by a linebacker. So also had a pretty costly fumble where they're in scoring range in that second quarter. And, Jaydon Blue ran a 4.38 and if the Cowboys line looks good like they did versus Philly and he's getting some good holes to run through, I think we could see some breakaway runs pretty soon from Blue if he's worked into the lineup. And I think after the performance we saw from Miles Sanders this week, I think we could see Jaydon Blue as early as next week. So I would definitely be inquiring about Jaydon Blue. Maybe you can get him for cheap this week. So if you guys are liking the video, be sure to like and subscribe. Follow us on the Discord and all social media links as we are on our road to 1,000 subs. And appreciate you guys watching. So now at number 3, we're going with send some offers for A.J. Brown. A.J. Brown is just a good quality dynasty asset to have, but, test the waters. Maybe the owner could be a little bit worried, with week 1. Only 1 fantasy point for A.J. Brown week 1. And I heard a lot of negative talk about the Eagles and A.J. Brown. Saw him go up on the trade block also in a few of my leagues. So like I said, 1 fantasy point in week 1, only earned 1 target for 8 yards. But last season, A.J. Brown had a few low target games as well. A couple that he had just 4 or 5 targets. Still finished as a wide receiver 10 in fantasy points per game. Now that might be out of the range of outcomes. Maybe not top 10, but I could still see him being a top 15 receiver. So if you can steal him away right now and work a deal, I think it's a smart play to do. At number 2, I have shop Javonte Williams. So this kind of goes in line also with number 4 as we were talking about, inquiring about Jaydon Blue. I think Jaydon Blue will be worked into the lineup pretty soon. And really, if you have Javonte, I think I wouldn't mind tearing up or even tearing down and adding some draft capital to my team. I think it's worth a shot. He's something I could use later on down the line, closer to fantasy playoffs, where I could add another player if I can get something and a second. So I think he had a good game this week for fantasy. 15 rush attempts for 54 yards, only 2 receptions for 10 yards. So without the touchdowns, I know it's hard to say, but without the touchdowns, that'd be 8 fantasy points, only 50 yards on the ground, 10 in the air. So only 8 fantasy points without the touchdowns. The touchdowns did save him and inflated his production, his fantasy production. He got 2 touchdowns, which brought his point total to 20 fantasy points. We suspect Dallas is a good offense, so he is going to get touchdown opportunity. But I think if Blue works in there a little bit, could be a little bit less opportunity for Javonte. And like I said, it wasn't very efficient on the ground. 15 rush attempts, only 54 yards, 2 receptions, 10 yards. So not much as far as the production goes. And I think right now, where he is in Dynasty, I think you can get even if you get a Merritt, Jaylen Warren, maybe Jordan Mason, all those guys are ranked below him right now in Dynasty. Maybe you can add some draft capital on top of those guys and move on from Javonte if you like those players, right? If you want to keep Javonte and you think he's going to keep scoring a bunch of touchdowns and all that, which he might, right, on the Dallas Cowboys, then you can definitely keep him. But I think it might be a good idea just to see and acquire what's out there for Javonte. Maybe even move on. You don't want to get another running back in down tier. Maybe you can even get a wide receiver. But I definitely would be entertaining some offers for Javonte. And if you get something good, then definitely I would take it and move on from him. And if you don't get any good offers, then just hold them. Now at number 1, we have add Kayshon Boutte. So he's 56% rostered, and he had a great camp and preseason. There was a lot of good buzz coming from Kayshon Boutte. And he led the Pats in routes run this week with 44 routes to Pop Douglas 39. Also led them in targets staying on the field in 3 and 2 wide receiver sets. So he had 8 targets, turned that into 6 receptions for 103 yards, 16.3 fantasy points without a touchdown. Has some good chemistry with Drake May. Still only 23 years old. And many, including myself, had high hopes for Kayshon Boutte when he came in to the league from LSU. And he's off to a great start right now in his 3rd year. Maybe it's a 3rd-year breakout. We'll see. Time will tell. But if he can continue to build on this week 1 performance that he had today, he's definitely someone whose value will shoot up in Dynasty rankings in the upcoming weeks. So that is all I have for you guys today. Thank you guys for tuning in, and be sure to like and subscribe.